I mean, what even is there to say to start this? I mean, Shane and I ran out of words last week. I, I you wouldn't think we'd be able to run out of words this week, but I think we might do it again. But quickly, welcome into this week's episode of the BGN Instant Reaction Show. I'm Jesse Taylor. I'm here as always with Rachelle behind the glass. Shane Half is here with me. It's another late night, and we're going to jump right in to talk about this. What do we call it? Do we call it a football game? Because it didn't look like much of a football game from where I was sitting.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Do we have to talk about this game? What's your favorite Christmas movie, Jess? Let's just pivot here.
I think my favorite Christmas movie, I'm such a sucker for Elf, but I really enjoy a good viewing of Christmas with the Cranks. What about you, Shane?
Elf is definitely up there.
Staple.
I mean, we could do a lot with Christmas movies. We could debate if Die Hard's a Christmas movie. We could do a lot of things. I'm wearing my Eagles Christmas sweater.
Yeah. We could kill the next 30 minutes and not even talk about the atrocity that was this. I took my daughter to see Santa today. She screamed. She's not a fan of Santa.
That's yeah. Well, I had that same reaction while watching this game. So if Rachelle was in my ear telling me we got to bring this back around to the football game. So there you go. There's the segue.
All right. Where do we start? Do you want to? Hey, there was really good special teams play in there. Thought of you immediately. Some great special teams action from your Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah, love that fake punt. When Josh Jobe got the kick catch interference penalty, I took the screenshot of him right there and I tweeted that and I said that's the closest an Eagles defensive back has been to a Cowboy attempting to catch a football today. Put him in. Just put him in on defense. Big picture, we could come on the show and we can say the Eagles control their fate for winning the division.
Yep.
With a tough game next week against Seattle.
Yep.
Wait, next week's Seattle, right? Yeah. Yes. Next week's Seattle, and then it goes Giants, Cardinals, Giants. You win out, you win your division. You're hoping the 49ers lose one and you get the 1 seed. And that's all true. Yeah. It's so hard to figure out what's real with this team. One side of me says it's week 14, and if you haven't put it all together yet, you're probably just not as good as you thought you were. Another part of me says the Dolphins are in contention for the 1 seed in the AFC, and the Eagles beat them decisively. And the Eagles, they've gone through this run, and you could truly attribute some of this, if you want to look at it the glass half full way, and say you play that overtime game against the Bills. You chase that into a physical 49ers game, and this team just looks exhausted. They look beat up. You've got A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith both dropping multiple passes tonight. They each fumble. That's not something that you expect to see happen. And so, you could go either way. Someone could legitimately convince me this is a good football team that's going through it right now. Yeah. And they can rebound and hit the playoffs refreshed and ready to go. But if I watch that play out, even if they win against the Seahawks and they beat the Giants, Cardinals, and Giants by 3 scores each of those games, it's just going to be hard to trust it. You could be sitting there on a bye while everybody else is playing, waiting to host what's probably going to be Dallas, if that was the case, in the second round of the playoffs. And I just don't know how you could feel confident. So, I'm at a place that I'm not out on this team, but there's nothing that can happen the rest of this season that will make me confident going into a playoff game. I don't know what's real. I don't know, is this a good team? Is this not a good team? I know what their record says they are. I know what we've seen the last 2 weeks. I have no idea where this team's at.
And it's hard because, if we would have looked at the schedule going into the season, right, and you were sitting there in September and looking through trying to figure out, okay, where are they going to be? What is going to be tough? you look at, this was the stretch of games, right? These last 6 that they've played, or 6 or 7 if you want to include Seattle in that. And if you would have said, okay, after this relatively easy stretch to start the season, they're going to go 4-2 in this really tough stretch that includes Dallas twice, the 49ers, the Bills, and the Kansas City Chiefs. They're going to win the first 3 of those games, and then they're going to lose 2, but they'll get back on track and they'll still be 10-3 going into week 15. You would have told us that back in September, and we would have gone, okay, that sounds great. The problem is it's so tight at the top of the NFC that, there's one division that's like someone has to win it. So they have to, create a playoff spot for the NFC South. But, obviously you get a little bit of help from the Bears pulling out a win today over the Lions, because they were for a while going to be the toughest opponent, or toughest competition, I guess, for the top, because they had 2 losses for a while and everything. So, but now obviously you're tied with Dallas, you're tied with the 49ers. They have the 1 seed because they have the tiebreaker. So because it's so tight at the top of there isn't that wiggle room. So that's where, it becomes frustrating. And you're right, because of the way that they have lost these last 2 games, it's really hard to determine and trust what they might be. To be completely honest with you, walking out of last week, obviously, we had a little bit of a meltdown on here. But by the time it got to, back end of the week, when Sam and I are recording Babes on Broad on Friday morning, I was completely calm, cool, collected, had the utmost confidence in this team to be able to go in there and get this win. I had complete confidence they were going to be able to do it. So the way that Jalen Hurts is as a person, and the way that he is able to get his mindset for a game, I have all the confidence in the world in him. Obviously, you don't want him to turn the ball over where he does. You don't want him to fumble there. Aside from the fumble, I thought he rebounded nicely from last week. He didn't get much help on that otherwise. 5 of those balls that were dropped don't get dropped. The fumble by AJ, the fumble by Devontae, some of those things don't happen. We're looking at a little bit different there. I'm not going to say that he, played like an MVP tonight, because he didn't, but in comparison to the way he played last week, I thought he played much better. The offensive line was not giving him much there, and I'm sure we'll get into the defense at some point, not being able to do anything. But I mean, it's just frustrating because last week they outright got their asses kicked. Like, just plain and simple, they got their asses kicked. There was no way around it. Tonight, you watched all of those plays be left out there and then make stupid mistakes, like turning the ball over, like bad penalties that they're, taking on that killed that opening drive by them. You saw them all kind of left out there on the field, which makes it that much more frustrating.
Yeah, it's if it's not one thing, it's another, right? If you start running the football and there's some success, then all of a sudden you're going to get false starts that put you behind the sticks. And by the way, then you're going to have to throw the ball to make up that penalty yardage, and your receiver's going to drop it. And then Jalen's going to fumble, and then Devonta Smith's going to drop a touchdown. It's just, it's just, I don't know where you go with that. Like, it's not many games that you're going to fumble the ball 3 times and have AJ Brown and Devonta Smith dropping multiple passes. Like, that's probably the worst game of Devonta Smith's career. It's AJ Brown's worst game as an Eagle. I won't say it's the worst game of his career. I think there was a couple in Tennessee when things were just going really bad, but 2 of your star players having that kind of game, and Jalen Hurts fumbling the ball, that kills you early in the game. And so much going wrong on the offensive side of the ball, and on the defensive side of the ball too. I mean, the defense, they stepped up in the second half, but in the first half, they just continued that streak of giving up touchdowns and field goals, and dating back to, the last 6 drives of the 49ers game. Now, they buckled down in the second half, and they gave the Eagles a shot. And I mean, for all the things we could say about the defense, as bad as they played, they outscored the offense. And so, in the second half, they force a 3 and out. They get a touchdown on defense, and then they gave up 3 consecutive field goals. Like, there's worse defensive performances, and I'm not by any stretch of the imagination defending the defense, because they're every bit as complicit in digging us in these big holes.
Sure.
It's just, you look at this roster, and somebody asked me at halftime about the Eagles, defense. Is this talent? Is it scheme? And I was like, well, it's not either or, it's both and. Like, this defense isn't as good as people think it is, for one thing.
Yep.
But also, the Buffalo Bills lost Tre'Davious White, all-pro corner. They lost Matt Milano, who's a top 3 linebacker in the league. They lost Kaiir Elam. They lost another safety. They lost another edge rusher. They're top 5 in scoring defense. Like, it's both and. Like, this defense is poorly coached. They're tackling poorly the last 2 weeks. And you can look at all that again and say, well, they were coming off of a game in Buffalo where they played 100 snaps and they got out physical at the 49ers and they look exhausted. And that's just where it's hard to figure out. Like, those can all be true. Hey, playoff football is coming. That's what playoff football is. It's back-to-back-to-back weeks of playing top teams, unless you get to face the Giants like the Eagles did last year. And so you have to be ready for that. It's nice that they're going to have a few weeks here. And they desperately need to go into Seattle on Monday night, and they need to beat down the Seahawks and start to feel themselves again a little bit. There was just a brief stretch after that defensive touchdown when you could tell the defense was getting a little bit of juice, and then it just went away because the offense can't move the ball. And when they do move the ball, they turn it over. It's just a comedy of errors. There's going to be a lot of talk about coordinators. There'll be a lot of, we don't need to play the blame game of who's at fault. In the words of Jason Kelsey at the Super Bowl parade, it's the whole team. It's the whole team. Every guy on the roster, every coach on the coaching staff's at fault.
Yeah. And it's interesting because I was, texting Sam early in the game, and she said to me, if they lose this game, does someone get fired this week? And it's very uncharacteristic for the Eagles to make any sort of in-season change. I think when they fired Chip Kelly, it was a rarity. That was so unlike them to do. And I said, no, I don't think that's going to happen. And she goes, okay, well, does someone, should someone be? And I'm never going to be one to say someone should get fired, but the question is, okay, well, if you want to go with Brian Johnson, that's fine, as he's not a great play caller, but it's not his offense. It's Nick Sirianni's offensive scheme that he's calling the plays for. So is it fair to fire him when Nick Sirianni is the one that designed the offense? But they're not going to fire Nick Sirianni. And if you look at the defensive side of the ball, it's like, yeah, the defense has let up 30 points the last 3 weeks, and that's not what you want. But also, we knew going into this season that they let go the best linebacker that they had developed in years, didn't replace him with anybody, and the safeties were just basically non-existent on the roster in terms of talent. They're not going to fire Howie Roseman. So what are you going to, what are you going to do? I don't know. Where do you start? There's a lot of issues here.
Yeah. Well, where they're going to start is going to the podium after the game and saying that we didn't play up to our standards. We got to be better. And we're going to hold ourselves accountable. Am I doing that right?
Yeah.
I mean,
do you have a copy of the Eagles PR handbook? Because that's pretty much it. It's 3 pages long. Those 3 sentences on each page.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's rough. I don't have a lot of issues right now, at least, with Brian Johnson in this game. Thought the offense moved the ball. Star players didn't make plays. You look at the defensive side, and there's things there I just don't like. And generally, I like that Desai was willing to try things. I just don't like the buttons he's been pressing over the last, even down to, they had a third down. This after Reed Blankenship is hurt. They have a third down, and they go with a cover 0 blitz. And you have Kevin Byard, who is your best cover safety on the team, even if Reed Blankenship's out there. And you have Sidney Brown, who just loves to run downfield and blow up people. And they blitz Kevin Byard, and they ask Sidney Brown to cover Jake Ferguson one-on-one. Why? Just why? You're clearly showing cover 0 before the snap. This isn't a disguise thing. You just willingly said to the safety that can't cover, hey, go cover this tight end one-on-one. And to the safety that can cover, why don't you go try to rush the passer? It's things like that really frustrate me with Desai. And he wasn't dealt the best hand. But again, there's guys out there doing more with less. He's not doing more with less. And I've had real issues with his approach last week. I had real issues with his approach this week. Certainly, the defense is not very talented. And where the defense needs to win is the front with the pass rush. And the pass rush is dead because you drafted a rookie in the first round as an edge rusher that plays 8 snaps a game. And Josh Sweat, before this game, Josh Sweat had played a career high number of snaps this season. He's not rotating out at all. Hassan Reddick's not rotating out at all. Like, these guys are going to wear down. And when the pass rush wears down, you don't have the guys behind to be able to play coverage like that. And it shows. And the pass rush, as it has become less effective over the last few weeks, the Eagles have given up 30, 42, 33. They can't stop teams.
And then they turn the ball over. It's a really good recipe that we are cooking with right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's brutal because there's we talked about it last week, especially on third down. They're the worst third down defense in the NFL. There's no such thing as a third and long. They're automatic. It doesn't matter. And there's no such thing as getting behind the sticks on defense for them. It just doesn't exist. And it's unbelievably frustrating because even if the offense could get into any sort of rhythm and move the ball, you can't rely on your defense to get a stop at any point when you need them to.
Yeah.
And especially, and listen, they had a couple really good games where, they were down 10 and came back and won, and everyone got their, what together at halftime and they figured out whatever. And that's all well and good. But we can't be digging ourselves into a 24-3 hole every week and expect that, adjustments at halftime are going to be enough to fix that problem against other good football teams. Like you said, the best teams in the NFL week after week after week is what the playoffs are.
Yeah, that over the last 3 weeks, the Eagles have gotten their opponents into 49 third downs. They've allowed a conversion on 33 of the 49. That's 68%. Now, a couple of those, there's 3 fourth down conversions in there. So if you just pull their third downs, it's 30 of 49, not 33. But the fourth downs count. So, yeah. So 33 of 49 times they've gotten them to a third down the last 3 weeks. They've allowed a first down.
Does that include ones that they've been called for penalties as well that give them a first down? That they
No.
off the field?
No, those don't register as third downs.
Oh, well, there's
the stats.
Great. So there should be way more then. The percentage is going to go up, is what you're telling me.
Yes. Yeah. If you trace that out, it would definitely be higher.
Awesome. That's what I love to hear. I mean, how is it too late to flex the game next week back to Sunday, 4:00? Is it too late to go backwards? Because I don't want to stay up Monday night and have to do this again.
I think it is. Can you imagine how funny it would be if the NFL did that, though? They're like, yeah, never mind. We didn't mean to send that tweet.
In fact, we would like to see Bailey Zappi and Zeke Elliott on Monday Night Football with Patrick Mahomes and see if they can line up on sides this time.
It's probably worth mentioning that Jalen Hurts never attempted a pass that wasn't targeting A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, or Dallas Goedert. Olamide Zaccheaus gets the one reception. That was from Braden Mann on the fake punt. Not that that's a bad thing. That's who you want to funnel targets through. Those are your good players, right? But where's the checkdowns to the running backs? I mean, and Hurts only took 1 sack in the game, so it's not like he was getting sacked a lot. But where's the angle screen that they ran to DeAndre Swift 3 times in the Bills game that worked really well, and they haven't run it they haven't run it since then. The little swing passes to the running backs, I don't know where that stuff is. So I didn't think everything was trying to push downfield, which is good. They need to be able to play within structure more, but you can't exclusively to, and again, I'm not arguing that they should be targeting Quez Watkins more or anything like that, but if you're totally ignoring 2 of your 5 receiving options, defenses will start to key into that. And you do have to keep defenses honest. Like we talk about taking what the defense gives you. Stephon Gilmore was all over AJ Brown tonight. Like throw it to Ron Bland. He's had a rough go of it. Like don't pigeonhole yourself into these are the only guys that I will throw to. And I wouldn't even mention this if not for the fact that I saw in last week's game several times that a tight end was open, but it wasn't Dallas Goedert. And so Jalen Hurts didn't throw the football. And so it's a little concerning if there's 3 guys I'll throw the football to. And if it's not one of them, I'm not going to look your way. And again, I haven't watched, I don't know what he's looking at this week yet, but I just think it's worth mentioning. The ball never went to anybody else. And they were a pretty check down heavy team. They were throwing to backs a lot earlier in the season. That seems to have gone away.
I mean, yeah. I think I saw a tweet earlier, and I don't remember who it was from. I'll have to try to find it. But it was basically kind of saying one of the things, here it is, from Mark Creamer. It says, my biggest complaint about Brian Johnson is the play design. Last year, Shane Steichen created so many easy throws for Jalen and allowed him to get into a rhythm early. This year just seems like there's nothing easy for Jalen and everything is down the field without any creativity, which I totally agree with. He just seems, I think that just might contribute to it a little bit to this point. At this point in the season, there has not been a single game where he has looked comfortable to start. So he's just going to throw where he is most comfortable, and it's those 3 guys. There's nothing about the way that they start games that allow anybody on the offense to get into a rhythm, to allow them to expand beyond that A, B, or C direction. And it's just, I mean, you said it. Week 14, there's not much that's going to get better. It really just might only get worse from here.
Yeah, the offense can get back on track. The offense has skilled players all over the place. Somebody said it in the comments here, and I saw it pop up at one point. I don't see it now, but you can fix the offense, right? You have AJ Brown, Devonta Smith, Dallas Goedert. You've got a good offensive line. You have Jalen Hurts. You've got DeAndre Swift. You can fix this offense.
Yes.
If you don't start getting desperate and pressing. And we've seen the Eagles go down that road before with Carson Wentz. And I'm not in any way comparing Jalen to Carson Wentz. We've seen Josh Allen do that with the Bills down the stretch last year when it was just like the weight of the world was on his shoulders and he was pressing too hard, trying to make everything happen. Like if you can relax, take a deep breath, say, well, this was embarrassing. We blew our cushion, and you can get back to the basics and play within the structure of the offense. The offense can be a top 10 unit easily.
Mm-hmm.
The defense, I don't think so. Like I don't think the defense can. And even if you get your pass rushers rested up and you get your pass rush firing on all cylinders, and there's been a lot of reactions about the cornerbacks. I thought Slay played pretty good tonight. I didn't notice Bradbury too much. I generally think they've played decently the last couple games, tackling aside in the 49ers game. But linebacker is so bad. This defense doesn't have a chance to be good. Can they be like average? Maybe. I don't think so. I think you're just in for like the defense isn't going to be very good. And so the offense can't just be good. They've got to be great, and they've got to get back to that. It's not enough to be an average offense when the defense plays this way. So the offense has to become elite again, I guess is what I'm saying. And they have the tools to do that if they can step back and get perspective and get right and get confident again. We've seen them play that way this year. The defense just has to give you something. And the defense did give them something tonight. They're playing an offense that's on an incredible hot streak. In the second half, the defense scored 7 points and gave up 9. You can win games doing that. You can win games forcing a key turnover and giving up long field goal drives if your offense plays really well. And that's where the money is spent on this team. That's where the superstars are on this team. So at the end of the day, the offense has to step up. If the Eagles want to make a playoff run, Hurts and the offense have to get it together. the defense just isn't going to.
Yeah. And the offense, I'm totally with you. The offense can. It's just a matter of it happening. And, the guys that make all the money not dropping the ball or fumbling.
Yes.
You know?
And that's where we circle back to where we started this whole conversation. And that's, what does it take for you to become confident in this team heading into the playoffs? Because you look at the teams that are left on the roster, you've got the Giants twice. They're 26th in defensive DVOA. The Seahawks are 24th. The Cardinals are 30th. Like, you literally don't play a defense that ranks higher than the bottom 8 the rest of the season. And so the offense should be able to start firing on all cylinders. They should be able to get some confidence, to get some swagger heading into the playoffs. Like, it's a nice 4-game stretch for that. And a lot of times, if you can get that rolling even against a bad team, it just makes the offense better.
Oh, yeah.
But it's going to be hard to trust. Like, it's going to be hard for me if I see the offense put up 35 4 weeks in a row. There's still going to be that little nagging doubt in the back of my head. For me, for a lot of our listeners, it's like, but is this for real? Because they will remember what happened when the Eagles face the Cowboys and the 49ers, 2 teams that are going to be waiting for them in the playoffs. So it's just, I'm not going to be able to be fully confident at any point going into the playoffs. But I will feel better if the offense can just get back on track, and they certainly have an on-ramp to do so. And that's what I want to see over the next couple weeks.
Yeah, I would say they need to put up 30 plus those last three weeks for sure. And they need to not turn the ball over 3 weeks in a row. They need to have 0 turnovers on the offensive side of the ball for those last 3 weeks at minimum. If you want to throw in next week in Seattle to all these things too, great. But Giants, Cardinals, Giants, they need to score upwards of 30 and not turn the ball over and just clearly be in a rhythm for all 4 quarters. Like we talked about last week. Not 3, not 2, all 4.
Yeah.
12 straight quarters of complete offense. And from there, and I think one of the biggest issues with, you obviously said the usage is outrageous for some of these defensive players. If the offense could just take back the way that they won so much and won so big last year, was taking control of every game. They dominated time of possession throughout the entire season. They went on these long, 9, 10, 11-minute drives to just absolutely beat down a defense, but also kept their defense off the field. So if they can do that and keep their defense fresh, and not even just by outscoring teams and beating teams by 20 plus. I simply mean, if they end in a field goal some of the time, fine. But if you can run a 12-play, 9-minute drive 2 or 3 times a game, and you can keep your defense fresher than they have been, I feel way better about the defense that's going out on the field in that moment than I do about this defense that's just beat down and exhausted right now.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, outpossessed by 12 minutes tonight. They were outpossessed by like 19 minutes in the Bills game. Like, it adds up. And like we already talked about, you're thin in the trenches on the defensive side of the ball already. That's a cumulative effect. And it would be really nice if they can get the win against Seattle. Best case scenario, you go blow out Seattle. Mm-hmm. And then the next 3 weeks, you get up big and you get some of these trench players some rest, and you hit the playoffs with your legs back. And maybe you're past that point of no return. I don't know how that works cumulatively on your body throughout the course of an entire NFL season, but you desperately need Jordan Davis, Jalen Carter, Hassan Reddick, Fletcher Cox. You need all of these guys with juice. And I just don't feel like they have that right now. And I think that's as much a function, like you mentioned, of snap counts and being dominated in time of possession as anything.
Yeah. All right. I'm excited to bring Rachel in here because we have 60 responses to this tweet, at least, last I checked. of 3 words, and I'm just so interested. I haven't looked at them, but they keep growing. And is everyone getting fired?
Yeah.
Good.
Yep,
Yeah.
you're absolutely right. That's what I'm seeing here today. Fire everybody. Fire everybody for real. Somebody said, "Are we frauds?" And we've gotten to that point where people are really questioning it. Not feeling great. Fire Brian Johnson. Never fails. Disappointed but not surprised. Where's DeAndre Swift? He finished the night with 11 carries, 39 yards. Where else? What else did I see? Team looks defeated. I see a lot of that. Somebody on YouTube sent one also I saw earlier. Everyone panic, which I was like, yeah, I think we're at that place. We talked about it last week. Like last week was bad. And we kept saying, like, if they win both, I mean, if they lose against both the Cowboys and the 49ers, like we're in a bad place. And so I'm definitely concerned. I'm definitely a little worried now. It just sucks to see. Hire Frank Wright. Somebody said that.
I've seen a couple of those. I don't
Yeah.
know how I feel about that.
Yeah. Hard to watch, too many turnovers, figure it out, big loser energy, and we are frauds. So I'm seeing a lot of those ones. Somebody said, I thought it said somebody hire me. It said somebody fire me. Okay. And then somebody said, do not panic. Where's you guys' panic level as of right now?
I'm
I don't know.
more disappointed than panic. And I think it's there's one here that says have some pride.
Okay.
And I think that's kind of where I am.
Got it.
Like this game started off and it looked like AJ Brown could not be bothered to care to try to catch a football. Like those first couple, it looked like he just could not be bothered to be mentally present in this football game. And picked it up after that, fine, but then fumbled. And it to me appears as if I don't know, it like the hunger doesn't appear to be there. They say it does, but it just doesn't show through as much. And I think it's like it goes all the way back to like, damn, that Super Bowl really was their shot. Like they really had that shot and they just couldn't find a way. And now it's at the point where it's just like this, fraudulent team discourse is going to be pretty brutal for the next couple weeks because no matter what happens, if they whoop on the Seahawks and the Giants twice and the Cardinals, it's like, okay.
Yeah.
Good. Most people should.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think I'm just more, instead of like panic, I'm just more like just really disappointed in what's happened these last 2 weeks because it's not, like I was saying to Shane earlier, like it's not, if you would have told me in September that they would have gone, 3-2 through this stretch of games, great. But the way that they've lost and just how bad it's been, it's really disappointing after, you start 10-1 for what?
Yeah, I kind of just go back to what I was saying at the beginning, that it will be hard to be confident in this team because you're out of good opponents. I mean, Seattle's fine. They've got a good offense. You're out of good opponents. And so it would be one thing to have lost these last 2 games. Even if you got blown out by San Francisco and you rebounded here, you take the lead and then Dak drives down the field and scores a game-winning touchdown. You tip your hat and you say, man, it was a good game. We played well. And, we kind of thought we're about even with Dallas. We split with them. It's kind of what you expect. You'd feel better. But to just get taken apart like that on the road after you got taken apart on your home stadium, I mean, it's not a panic. I'm not panicking, but I really question what this team's ceiling is. And, I could be totally wrong. They could rest back up. John Stolnis was talking about that on Twitter. It could just be that cumulative fatigue and maybe they're fine. I don't think that's it. And I hope I'm wrong.
it's just a bummer. It's just a bummer to be sitting here at 12:05 a.m. and just like, what even is this team that we're looking at right now? Like, what even is this group of people that we're talking about? Who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows what we're going to see from them next week? At least we get an extra day.
That is true.
And Sunday.
I fully expect the offense to look good next week and really for the remainder of the season. Again, they are not playing good defenses, and hopefully they are able to parlay that into, is that the right word? Anyways, hopefully they're able to keep that train rolling as they get into the playoffs, get their mojo back, and be able to carry a defense that is hopefully good enough to give them a few opportunities. But you're not winning games putting up 13 or 15 points in the playoffs with this defense. You're going to have to go score.
Yep.
And the offense is fully capable. We've seen them do it, right? We've seen them in the Buffalo game score on, what was it, five of their last 6 possessions to win the game. We've seen them put up 28 on Dallas, 38 on Washington, 31 on Miami. And so they can do it. They can put up points. It's just been a little bit. And by a little bit, I mean like 3 weeks. So it's not even been that long. It's not even that long of a down stretch. It just comes against your 2 biggest rivals for the 1 seed. It really sucks.
Yep.
But hopefully we'll see the offense really get back on track against Seattle next week.
We can only hope.
Right.
The one good thing about getting Flex to Monday is stress-free Sunday football. That's the only good thing.
Yeah, you get to enjoy the other games. Very true.
Yeah. Just put on some Red Zone and put the feet up. Well, I say put the feet up. I have a toddler. That doesn't exist. But you know what I mean.
Yeah. Let's just hope we're not back in this situation next week.
I can't do this again. I can't do this again after another primetime game. This is not good for my mental health, being up this late doing this.
Yeah.
And have to wake up at 5 o'clock tomorrow morning. I feel like we just I'm out of things to say.
No.
I'll tell you what, we'll get in the film room and we're better than this, and we're not podcasting up to our standards tonight, but we'll come back better next week.
We'll have a lot of episodes dropping this week.
We're gonna hold ourselves accountable. Rachel's gonna get on the chalkboard here.
Yeah.
And we'll put a better product out next week.
Absolutely.
Oh, all right. And with that, we are going to wrap up. Thank you so much to everybody in the comments. We are seeing all your comments, even if we don't get them all up on the screen. We really appreciate you guys hanging out with us, especially at this late hour for everybody on the East Coast. Thank you for joining us, BGN Instant Reaction Show. Make sure you're subscribed everywhere. Like Rachel said, we're going to have lots and lots of content coming out this week from everybody at BGN. It's going to be a lot, I'm sure. It's going to be, Rachel, you're going to be nice and busy editing everything and getting it all out this week.
Sure. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys again for staying up late with us. Make sure to check us out next week. We'll be back after the Seattle game. No matter what happens, we will be here nice and late again talking to you about this one. Hopefully it's a better result. But until next week, on behalf of myself, Shane, and Rachel, go Birds, and we'll talk to you then.
Go Birds.